games, Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, with 10 things we hate about The Return of the Living Dead 3. We, of course, have done 10 things we love about this movie already, and 10 things we love and hate about the first 2 films. So make sure you go check out all those videos. We're now going to talk about things we hate in this third movie.
A bit more difficult for me. I think a bit more nitpicky. I really enjoyed this film.
A lot of mine are based on comparative things and issues with the lore.
Yeah.
As a Return of the Living Dead super fan of the original movie, that was always going to be the case.
Yeah.
So I'll get started then, because it's literally one of them. Ultimately, I don't think this feels like a Return of the Living Dead film. Brian Yuzna, who was a very good director and has done great work in things like Society and all that, I don't think he cared about the lore. I don't think he cared about the lore that was created in the first film. Yeah. The problem is neither did the second, and neither do the 2 films that follow. Yeah. It's like there's supposed to be a lore created by the first film. None of you gave a fuck at all about it.
Just slap the name on.
There are elements in here, elements that touch and mention and have like, oh, that's kind of similar to the first, but not enough. And I'm going to get in more detail about some of the specifics, but the overall issue I have doesn't feel like a Return of the Living Dead film. It feels like a zombie film. Yeah.
I think we doubled up on that one because I thought there's not enough mentions to the first film. Not enough reference for me.
Yep.
Which is what I like. There's little hints, like I said, little hints of it. You're like, oh, going to expand on that? No, it's just brief little nod to the fans.
Yep.
So, yeah. We going to have the next one?
Of course.
We doubled up. Yep.
One of the biggest issues, one of the biggest fucking issues is that, and it's, to me, it pisses all over what I love about Return of the Living Dead. This movie makes it so that zombie bites infect humans. It will turn you into a zombie. That is not in line with what the first film did. No. The first film was, it's simply they killed you because they wanted your brains. Yeah. It was all about the brains eating. You were dead after that. Yeah. This movie just fucks around with that and has you reanimated no matter what. Yeah. One zombie loses its brains, has Julie eaten its fucking brains, and it still reanimates. Yeah. People get bit and they become zombies. Yeah. This is just a zombie film. Yeah. This is not specific. And people go, oh, but so was Return of the Dead. It was, but it wasn't. It did something unique and scarier because it was the idea that this was different direction. Yeah. And you could say, well, maybe bites could have infected, and original film never played around with that idea. But that it didn't. I mean, don't. Yeah. Just don't. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so frustrating. Yeah. But zombies biting humans and infecting them. Any zombie movie ever.
On the sort of thing of like the threat as well, I thought it could have been a few more of them. It was a bit like a localised threat rather than an epidemic. It just felt like, oh, it was just these guys. There's no real impact on anyone else. All pretty quiet, all pretty hush. I know it's pretty in line with the government part of it, but the first film, it went batshit, didn't it? Like, at the end of it,
absolutely, this world ending.
Yeah, and this one felt like, oh, it's just these guys. No one else is affected by this. A very small group of people. I know I said in the Love video that I liked the idea that they did better effects because they obviously put the budget into a smaller group. But I just think they kind of like expand the story a little bit more a city-wide thing. Yep. And then close the city down. Perhaps it was just literally these guys, and that was it.
We double up. I've worded mine differently, and it's that to me it never feels huge, which is a staple of the series. Very important, and even the second film got this right. Is we start with a very small thing, and then we watch it snowball and snowball and snowball. And even the second film nailed that from a town overrun, the military stopping people leaving. Yeah. That town became overrun. Yeah. The first one obviously did this in such a horrific scale. His third one is so localised. It suggests it, as we sort of see that snowball beginning, as Kurt and Julie go on the run, they interact with people who then get infected, but it's still so small and localised and then just stops dead. Yeah. And Return of the Living Dead, the scares come from the scope and the scale and this is getting out of hand. It's why we have a nuclear bomb dropped on the fucking ending of the first film, because it becomes we can no longer control this. Yeah. It's done, and we now need to stop it before it gets out of this one area. Yeah. It's gone wider. It's like it started here and we've watched it and we can't stop it. No. We cannot put a wall around it. And even Return of the Living Dead 2 did that right. Yeah. It had its start in a localised graveyard and spread through that town. This goes, okay, shop, sewers, that's it.
Not even like a little nudge to it either. Not like sometimes like a little end credit part where something could happen.
Its problem is it wants to focus on the relationship between Kurt and Julie, which is a positive in itself.
Yeah.
But it's, again, this ties into my other one. It's not a Return of the Living Dead film then.
Yeah.
It's a zombie film. Yeah. We doubled up. Yep.
Okay. The lack of security. So the colonel, whatever he is, captain, loses his keys, loses his security card. For the work they're doing, the research they're doing, he loses his security card. That would have been, the moment you lose your card, you'd phone up and you'd say, contact the base and go, look, I lost my security card. That's it. End that card.
Yep.
You wouldn't just like go, oh, never mind, I'll look for it later. It's fine. No one's going to use that. National threat. Yeah, that really annoyed me. It's a silly film. It was quite, because it's a serious film. So play it seriously and have some sort of like, explain a little bit more that you'd have to get some sort of backup card. Or just something, you know. It seemed too easy for the son to just nick it and get into the base. So...
I'm not so annoyed about the first part of that.
Yeah.
It's the fact that card works a second time later on in the movie.
Yeah.
When he goes back, when he goes back for the second time to reanimate Julie, that card still works.
Yeah. Just don't give a shit there.
What the fuck? I have it too, and I call it the MacGuffin. That is the piss poor security at the zombie testing base. So obviously they, had to do this whole thing about Kurt and Julie see the original zombie thing, which is why he gets the idea to even go back there and reanimate her. The getting in is one issue in itself. It's when it's inside. There's look at what you're doing in that base, and they're able to sneak around with ease. Oh my god! And even at the end, when Kurt decides to free Julie, he's walking around and no one gives a fuck. And I know he's the Colonel's son, but at that point it's like, no, this kid has been so involved, and he's allowed to walk in where Julie's being chained up, and no one bats an eyelid. It's such it's so piss poor. It's like. None of you should. This is terrible.
I mean, at least have him fighting to try and get to see her. Like, I want to get in to see Julie. And like, no.
Or someone say you shouldn't be in here.
Yeah. It just it was didn't sit well with it. My next one, no bike safety.
Oh god, that's nitpicky.
That's very nitpicky. But promoting bike safety for a film like TV and adverts,
But then how would she die?
You still get died being flung off a bike and hitting a lamppost.
If she'd worn a helmet, you could argue she might have survived it.
Oh, well, they could have.
They were bad boys and girls.
Yeah, okay.
Take it easy. Take it easy. Hey, I'd never taken it easy on you. You're mine, honey, all mine. Julie! Stop it! You losing control, huh?
Okay, no, it's nitpicky, but I get it.
Yeah.
Of course. The acting of the Hispanic gang. So there's a gang in this movie that are introduced in a shop, and they're way too old to be behaving the way they are, fighting over an arcade machine. They get it with Kurt and Julie. Julie bites one of them. That's he gets infected. They get in a bit of trouble with them, and the Hispanic gang end up chasing them down. I call them Hispanic gang because they literally are that. They're dressed and act and speak in that way. Cholo this and stuff like that. Very caricature of that. They're a major part of the film. A major part of the events. They become zombies. Most of them, they all become zombies, in fact. And so on. But the acting is so... it's basically to do with the caricatures. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to have you be a badass Hispanic gang, so you've got to speak like that. Here, essay and stuff like that. And it's like... I don't know if that's actually how you are, and you're not just putting it on. It doesn't come across properly. Didn't like it.
No, we doubled up on that because I thought the Hispanic gang very stereotypical. So very obvious stereotypes. I was like, did you have to kind of go down that route, really?
I agree.
You could have had them bump into them in a different manner, or just a different kind of gang, really. It seemed a bit kind of lazy, really.
I think the events, how they bumping them is fine. It's the fact that you're really following them into the sewers and stuff like this. Like, it's a bit like, no, you're not really doing this. Yeah.
I don't know. When I taste it.
Hey, man. What the fuck is wrong with her?
Don't worry about it.
Don't you ever feed her, Issy?
The Riverman zombie helping out sequence. I hated this. I hate 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 this. I get it in the lore of the Return of the Living Dead because a lot of times zombies retain faculties if they've just been died recently.
Yeah.
The problem is this character wasn't massively involved enough with them to care enough to help them this. So Riverman helps them in the sewers, helps them too much for what he is. He's a little unhinged, a little bit odd himself, but he gets eventually turned into a zombie, and he gets kitted out in this horrible metal outfit.
I like that.
And he ends up helping Kurt and Julie leave the room by holding it open, all that, after having several of his limbs blown off.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't work at all. No.
Yeah, you know that one.
No.
So the guy at the beginning, the very first zombie they're testing on, what I read was a homeless guy. And I was like, I heard they put him in a hotel whilst they were filming. I kind of wonder what they do afterwards. They just kind of like, did they not hate, but in the sense of like, was it just because he was cheap?
Well, hopefully they paid him, and then it was like, look, I'm going to pay you.
Like, we're going to like pay you and that.
And then you're on your own.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is fair.
Yeah. I was wondering how they kind of looked at it and thought, can we not get a skinny actor? Why'd they pick a homeless guy?
Okay.
Maybe they thought they could help him out for a bit. I don't know the thinking behind that.
This is a hate.
Yeah. They're very nitpicky. Very nitpicky.
Very.
I really enjoyed the film.
Okay. All right. Right, and go back to another complaint about the law.
Yep.
And it's this. And this is, I think, a problem with Brian and people involved making it, and I don't get this at all. Why didn't you have a Tarman zombie? You have zombies that come out of the trioxin barrels. It's not a Tarman. It's not that. The other two films did it. Later films, even Rave to the Grave, did it. This didn't do it. No. Its zombie is like a stuck-face zombie and all that. Looks cool, but seriously, how do you not introduce a Tarman zombie here for the fans?
Yeah. Is that what are you embarrassed about the law from the first film? Like, why would you not have it in there?
That you didn't want to, but it's like, but you're making the third Return of the Living Dead movie. Yeah. You are making it.
You could have one based on the first one with like literally no eyes or teeth, like make it look all like even.
Just it could have been the same thing.
Just more
gooey
looking,
black gooey.
Yeah.
Could have been exactly the same thing, but we'd have been like, okay, it's that Tarman style.
Yeah.
I find that really frustrating. Yeah. Almost like, oh, I don't want to do that. Yeah. It's like you're making the third film, guy.
Yeah. I just put another one was linking back to like how crap that facility was. Certain things just wouldn't happen in that facility.
A lot of things.
The way they worked on things and like it just kind of took away from it because make you believe you're actually doing proper research. Like it's high risk. It's category 4, like really high risk. You wouldn't have like two doofuses working on such a dangerous person at that length, you know.
Putting your fingers in his mouth.
Yeah.
Which is what kicks it off at the start. Is they think they've knocked it out and he takes the bite block out of his mouth and puts his fingers in his fucking zombie's mouth.
Yeah, it's like
that is insane.
That. Yeah. So
you wouldn't do it. No. You'd have a tool if you needed to do that at least.
Some sort of metal clamp.
There are so many issues with that part of the film. Yeah. It's not scary. This is a very important one for me. Is I still think Return of the Living Dead elements and plot points are scary.
Yeah.
We talked earlier on about the expansion and how large it seems to start overtaking the world. This doesn't feel scary.
Yeah.
Doesn't.
No. Not at all.
Not at all.
And linked to that, I missed some goofiness. Overall tone was too serious.
Yeah.
So I need a bit of like relief. Like either go really sinister and scary or add a bit of humour.
Even a bit of dialogue comedy, you know, which is what the first film did.
Tie us into us a little bit, you know. You haven't got to go all the way stupid like number 2 in certain parts.
Of course, no slapstick. Just don't be slapstick.
Yeah, but there's dark humour. I mean, look at things like Tremors. They have like.
Well, the original movie had lots of dark humour.
Yeah.
Black humour. It's what it is.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I agree with you in that. It's very serious.
Yeah.
And this is an important element here. Return of the Living Dead 3 would not be a good film if it wasn't surrounded by what it is. And this is why I ultimately, when it's like, people say to me, rank the Return of the Living Dead movies. I go, well, the best one is the original.
Yeah.
The second best is the third film.
Yeah.
And this is because you go 9, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for the original.
Yep.
5 or 6 out of 10 for 3.
Yeah.
And then you're dropping to like 4, 3 for the second.
Yeah.
And like 1s and 2s for Necropolis from Grave to the Grave.
Yeah.
Whoa, fantastic that.
Yeah.
You know? Which I'm going to tie into my last one as well.
Yeah.
And that's the problem for me. Out of the 5 films, as much as I like Return of the Living Dead 3, I wouldn't recommend you watch it. Because see it, check it out. But, and that's the problem. You do lots of buts for this.
Yeah, I think we've got a similar on that one. So it's just, it's just too standalone. Mm-hmm. In all but name, like it's just a name that's.
It's just a name.
It's just a name, and it's like when you recommend it to people, you're like, no, not really. It's not because it's not got the fun element. It's not got the. Yeah, it's not got the fun elements, and it just feels a bit bland. It
lacks energy. Yeah. It lacks excitement. Excitement is a major thing it's missing. And that's the thing. I don't think it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I think it's enjoyable in its own right, but it's got this constant. It's got an asterisk next to its name and a list of things underneath where that asterisk is of why that asterisk exists.
I think I prefer it if it was just called a different name.
If it had been just a different movie, you view it, then I wouldn't have these comparisons. I wouldn't be like, okay, now I've got to compare it to the previous ones. Yeah, of course not. Of course not. It's a major problem.
Yeah.
There you go. The things we hate about the Return of the Living Dead 3. Let us know yours in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon and help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?